The Curse of Kiseljevo. In the early 18th century, deep within the shadowed valleys of Serbia, the village of Kiseljevo slept under a constant shroud of mist. Time itself seemed slower there, where the forests whispered secrets in the wind, and the moon cast long fingers of silver over cobblestone paths. Life was humble, uneventful. Generations were born, toiled, and buried in the earth without so much as a mark upon history. But that changed in the summer of 1725. Among the villagers lived Petar Blagojevic, a man of soil and silence. He was no leader, no figure of power, just a peasant whose life was marked by calloused hands, worn leather opansy, and the quiet endurance of survival. Yet fate, as if mocking, would carve his name into eternity. Petar fell ill suddenly. His neighbors recalled nothing strange, just a steady fading of breath and strength. By dusk, he was gone. His body, dressed in simple linen, was lowered into the ground with prayers whispered under trembling lips. But the soil of Kiseljevo did not hold him. The deaths begin. Days later, a sickness swept through the village. Not the slow fever of winter or the wasting of hunger, but a violent, merciless shadow. Within 8 days, 9 villagers were dead. Each one healthy by day, struck down by nightfall, writhing in beds as though strangled by invisible hands. Their final words chilled the living to marrow. Petar came for me, he pressed upon my chest. I could not breathe. The villagers whispered. Fear cracked like ice through their homes. How could the dead walk among them? The widow's terror. Petar's widow, gaunt and trembling, added her tale. She swore that her husband's spirit had returned to their home. She heard his footsteps at night, saw the door creak open, and felt the cold presence at her bedside. He demanded his shoes, his old leather opansy, his voice hollow, echoing like wind in a crypt. Terrified, she fled the village, abandoning her home, never to return. But the horrors grew darker still. Blood of his son. It was whispered that Petar had visited his own son. Hungry, he asked for food. When refused, his face twisted, and his teeth, unnaturally sharp, glinted in the dark. He lunged at his son's throat, tearing flesh, blood gushing hot and black beneath the moonlight. The boy's cries were swallowed by the night, leaving only silence and fear. The exhumation. The villagers, mad with dread, demanded action. They turned to Cameralprovisor from Bald, the local Austrian official stationed there. From Bald hesitated. Such matters required approval from higher authorities. But fear is a stronger master than law. The people dug. One by one, spades bit into the soil of Petar's grave. The earth was cold, damp, resisting their intrusion, until at last the coffin was revealed. From Bald, with the priest beside him, stood at the edge, his hands trembling despite the authority of his post. The coffin lid creaked open. What they saw should have been. The vampire revealed. Petar Blagojevic lay as though in sleep. His skin was whole, his beard and nails appeared freshly grown, his flesh untouched by decay. And his lips, dark and wet, were smeared with fresh blood. The priest staggered back, crossing himself. The villagers cried out, certain now of what haunted them, a vampire. The stake. They wasted no time. A stake, carved from sacred hawthorn, was raised high above the coffin. With a cry, it was driven deep into Petar's chest. The moment the wood pierced his body, Petar convulsed. A torrent of warm blood erupted from his mouth and ears, spilling across the coffin like the body was freshly slain. Gasps filled the night, half terror, half relief. The villagers dragged the corpse to a pyre, flames licking the night sky. His body crackled and blackened as the scent of burning flesh drifted over Kisiljevo. When the fire was done, the death stopped. The aftermath. Frumbald recorded the events carefully, his words restrained, his heart anything but. His report, sent to Vienna, became one of the first official documents of a vampire in Europe. Yet the authorities turned their gaze elsewhere, leaving the villagers with their uneasy peace. But peace is fragile. The whisper that remains. Years passed, and the tale of Petar Blagojevic sank into legend. Yet on mist-heavy nights, villagers claimed to hear footsteps crunching the earth where his house once stood, or to feel a cold breath on the back of their necks when walking alone. Some swore that shadows gathered thicker around